Hi, Michelle here from Happy Scrap Girl Designs. Today I want to talk to you about a question that I get asked a lot, and that is to give some tips and tricks for making papers. And one thing that I notice, especially with people who are new to designing, is that a lot of times when they make papers, they all have the same texture on them, or you can see creases on them in the same exact spot through their entire paper pack, or something similar to that. Maybe there's an overlay that they use that has a spot on it in one area and it's on that same area in every single paper in the pack. So I'm going to show you how to get coordinating papers and get some variation by using overlays. Are you ready? Okay. I usually when I make papers, I have a file that I make all of the solid colored papers from, and then I have another one that I usually make all my patterned papers from. And what I do is I start out by making a group with all of the colors that are in my swatch. And this, for this example, I'm just going to use 4 colors. And I put them into a group, and I usually just say swatch colors. And then I go ahead and add in my overlays. And I usually try to grab a whole bunch of different overlays. And I'll show you why in a minute. But it's a good idea to have a couple that are just regular paper textures. Like this one is actually like a craft paper texture. Actually, I have 1, 2, 3 craft paper textures, and then I have 3 actually in this one example, 3 shabby overlay textures. And then sometimes I'll throw in some edge textures. And then a lot of times I'll go in and add brushes and stuff too, but just for this example, I'm just going to use these. So the first thing I'm going to do is I started with my swatch color, the first color in my swatch on the bottom, and then I have my first um, texture overlay, and let me show it on normal so you can see what it looks like. And I'm just going to take and switch it to however I want it, just to mix them up. So this one I have on soft light, it's real subtle. The next one I have on overlay and I reduce the opacity a bit. And the third one has a crease in it and I really want this to show. So I use linear light because it's a light color and I move the opacity down to 19. And then I've got a couple of my shabby overlays I'm going to throw on here, and these are all on overlay or soft light also, and I can adjust the opacity on those also. So if I'm making a paper pack, I would go ahead and save this as my first paper. But then I want to go to the next color, and if I go ahead and add that, even if I go through and just make some adjustments to the opacity in these so it's not quite so harsh here. It's a little much. um, there's still these creases in here which are really noticeable. And even some of these markings right here, those are pretty noticeable. These spots right here are pretty noticeable. Maybe even this line over here is pretty noticeable. So if I lined up a whole bunch of these same papers in a paper pack, your eye would be drawn right to that they're exactly the same. And so a good way to vary this is like this one, I would only use this particular overlay, the one with the creases. I would only use that one once in the paper pack, maybe twice, but if I was going to use it again, I would move it. I would rotate it. Rotate it. There we go. And I might flip it so that it's similar, but it's not exactly the same. I might even put it so it's going this way. And then I would probably also adjust the opacity in it a little bit so that it doesn't look exactly the same as the other one does. And then I would do the same thing for the other layers. This is how you get your variation is, whoops, I got to check mark that, is you just go through and rotate your layers around, change the opacity in them, and you can get a completely different looking paper, but it's still very similar, so they really go together. Like this one, I'm gonna lower the opacity on this one a lot more so that you don't really see those dots as much. And I might even use my healing brush to maybe get rid of this spot, which is really obvious. Oops. There we go. And the same thing with the shabby overlays. Just move them and turn them and twist them until you get a different look that's similar. And then you can create a coordinating paper pack, but they don't look exactly the same. So it looks a little bit more designer, a little bit more finished, a little bit more professional. If you have any questions, please email me at happyscrapgirl@live.com. Thanks so much and have a good day.